Good evening, everyone. So basically, in this video, we will discuss about the file handling in the Python, how we are going to do the file handling, what is the file handling concept. So as per the part of the programmings, we have to store the data permanently for the future purpose, right? So for the future reference purpose, we should go with the file system to store the data. So storing the data, so it's a permanent, right? So there are two type of files are there where we can store the data. First is basically a text file. The text file has those files where we can enter the characters, numeric characters in each everything. And second one is the binary files where we can store the image, video, and audio. So these are two type of files are there. So we have to store the data depending on the requirement. So we will discuss about the this topic, how we are going to open the file, how we are going to write the lines, read the lines, and how we are going to close the files. So first we will discuss about the text files. So where we are going to store the data, read the data, write the data, and open the files. So before doing that, you have to understand that for opening the file in the Python there is a syntax. So this is the syntax: f is equal to open file name and mod. So where file name is one argument and mod is the second argument. File name where you have to pass the file name, and mod where these are the mod are there. So depending on the operation which you are going to perform, so these are the mod are written here. Small r is basically open the existing file and read operations. W, small w is open the existing file and write the operations. Small a is basically open the existing file and write the operations as per the append operations. So W is basically overwrite the data, but A is basically used for the append of the data. So similarly, all these mod are there. You can pause the video, you can go through that these descriptions. So depending on the requirements, we are going to use these mod, these later, and the replacement of the mod. And the file name, whatever the file name in which you want to store the data, right? This is the syntax for opening the files. Now if you are working with the text files, so these are the mods. But if you are working with the binary files, just I just showed you that image file, video file, and audio file. In that case, you have to append the RB. WB means B. You have to append the B in this operation, in these mods, right? And how we are going to close the files: f dot close. So f dot close is the syntax to close the file if you are going to open or do any operations. So these are the basic syntax before going jumping into the programming part. So these are the some of the attributes, some of the properties of the file object. What is the file object? File object are this object. F is basically a file object which are going to be open this file. So this F is nothing but a file object. And similarly, F object means file object we need to be closed after all the operations. Now, for this file object, what are the properties are there? If we are going to use the f dot name, so it will tell the file name. If we are going to be print f dot mod, so this is the mod of the operations, whatever the operation we have performed. F dot close will tell you the boolean result, whether file is closed or not, file object is closed or not. Readability and writability same. You can pause the video, you can see the descriptions, what are the properties of the file object. So f is basically nothing of file object. Now let's jump into the directly programmings, how it's working. So I told you the syntax. If I want to open any file, we have to write the file name, first argument, and then comma mod. So mod is nothing but a how the operation we are going to perform. The small w is basically write operations. If file is already present, then it will be overwrite, right? So this is the basically syntax to open the file abc.txt files with w operation, write operations, right? So I can let me copy this code and explain in the VS Code. I have one tool, that is the VS Code. Now, if you see that abc.txt files, it will actually open the file and write operation and write these kind of things. App.name means file object dot name means it will be the file name. App.mod means what are the mod are there. App dot readability, writability, it will tell you about true and false, whether f is closed or not, and f is closed. This is a syntax to close the file. If I'm going to run this piece of code, right, so it will create a abc.txt file. If you see that this file is created automatically after this program is run. Now if you see that the operation here, so first it will, okay, so it will basically check whether this file is closed or not. So at line number 7 we have closed this file, but before that if we are going to check this file whether this is closed or not, so it is basically telling us that file is not closed, this is the false. But after the performing the operation f dot close, now if I'm going to check whether f dot close, so what is the file status, so now it's a true, file is closed. So basically this app.close is used to close the file which we have opened. And these are the operation. App.name is basically the file name. App.mod is basically tell us the mod, right? So these are the basic things about the file operations. Now if I want to write the data, right, so in that case we have to use the f.write. So f.write and then whatever the data I want to write, so this will be write the data. And app.write line, it will write the particular one line, single line, right? So there are two methods are available to perform the write operation. So once you open the files, right, you can call the app.write and pass the data. App.write pass the data, app.write pass the data. If I'm going to copy this code and going to run this piece of code here itself, right, so if I'm going to delete this text file, I am going to execute this piece of code. This abc.txt file is going to be created on the runtime after this execution, and this content is going to be right in this abcd.txt file, Dinesh Kumar forum D. So this Dinesh Kumar forum D, each and every new lines are going to be right in this data text files. So this is the way to store the data in the text files. Now we have to specifically close this file after the operation of the write. Now coming to the read operations, right, we have discussed read operation, how we are going to read the data. So there are particular few methods are available in file object. Read, f.readn. Readn is basically number of character you have to read. F.read is basically read all the data. F.read line will read one line. F dot read lines basically read all the lines into the list. So let's see how it's working. If I'm going to copy this data, right, and if I'm going to write abcd, I have a data file abcd.txt file, right, and this is the data. If I'm going to read this data in the read operations, and I have read the data f dot read, in data object data variable we have all the data which we have read. Now if I'm going to print the data, so it will print in entire data whatever available in the abcd.txt file. If you see that here Dinesh Kumar forum D, whatever the data is present, it will be going to be printed here itself. So this is nothing but a read operation. Read basically read all the data which is available in this file. If I'm going to pass the number of the argument, sorry, number of the integer value, that is, let's suppose 5, so it will really read only the first 5 characters. If I'm going to run this piece of code, so it will read only the first 5 character, DINES 5 characters from this data file, right? So f dot read is basically read only the 5 character. If I'm going to pass, if I'm going to use this f dot read lines, it will read only the first line. If I'm going to read this line, right, if I'm going to print this data, it will read only the first line, right? So this is the operation for the read operation. Now if I'm going to use this, I don't want to bother about the f dot close operations. So there is a syntax, there is another concept with a statement. So with the help of with statements, we can do the advantage, we can take the advantage, we do not bother about the closing the files after the operation, it will automatically close. Let's see how it's working. If I'm going to copy this data, right? So this is the basically with statements. With statements, if I'm going to open the file on the write operations as an f, and we have performed the operation write and again write, correct? I am going to delete this data again. It will create automatically on the runtime. Now, this is the workspace of the with statements. So till there, file will be open. But once we are going to move at line number 6, the workspace of the with statement has been closed, right? So the file is automatically closed. We do not have to explicitly call the f.close method, right? So let's see how it's working. If I'm going to run this code, this file is now created and this data has been written, whatever we have passed, right? And if I'm going to check in at line number 5 whether file is closed or not, so it will tell you that file is not closed. But at line number 6, after, out of the workspace of the with statement, if I'm going to check whether file is closed or not, yes, file is closed, that is a true. So with the help of with statement, we can take the advantage to no need to close the file explicitly after the operation. So this is one of the advantage of the with statement. So this is all about the concept in the file handling system. So you can pause the video, you can read out all the concept which have written here. Thank you so much for joining this video. I hope you understand.